Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. It seems to be another season of audio leaks. We've seen and the audio come out talking where Imran Khan Saab and key members of his team, Shamil Qureshi, also Azam Khan, are talking about the cipher. We'll be talking about the fact that, of course, the original cipher at this time is not to be found, a cause of concern. Certainly, we'll be talking about the ramifications of this on overall, as far as the security is concerned, as far as this cipher and its implications after this audio is concerned. Legally, what does it mean? What the effect it will have on the overall narrative that we've seen as far as the PTI is concerned, as far as the cipher's investigation is concerned, as far as the crux of the narrative that has been given out by the PTI, told to the people, how it's been explained, what does it mean as far as that is concerned, what will it have, the effects, the legality of this audio leak, what it means overall politically, the ramifications of this. We've also seen, you know, a committee, as far as the cabinet committee is concerned, being formed on the investigations, and which is being headed by Rana Sanaullah. All of that today on Perspective. I have with me Dr. Abid Abbasi, who's a political analyst. Thank you for joining us today. We also have with us Barrister Yasir Latif Hamdani, who's a legal expert. Thank you for joining us. Ji, Abid Sahab, you've also heard, you know, we've all heard the audios now. You know, for a while there have been a kind of, you know, sequel, and this is the final sequel, it seems. What are your thoughts on this, on the overall political situation at this time, considering the narrative of the PTI? You know, as far when the vote of no confidence happened, which is, by the way, you know, again, obviously a legal way of ousting a prime minister, the leader of the house, and then the narrative that has been given out to the people of Pakistan again and again in the speeches that the former prime minister addresses these crowds of thousands of people are you know, mainly the crux of that has been the cipher. What's your thought on this now?
Thank you very much, Mara. Yes, he has been playing this letter, so-called cipher, or whatever, the conspiracy letter, or whatever he has been calling that letter. But we should keep in consideration that, as you said while you know, commenting, while opening your show, that Imran Khan is the only Prime Minister of Pakistan who was ousted from the power through legal, constitutional manner. The vote of confidence, vote of no confidence was succeeded against him, and the you know, the allied political parties, they put off their supports, and he could not sustain in the power. As we know that he drastically failed during his 4 years, about 4 years in tenure. What he has promised to the people of Pakistan, particularly the youth, 10 million jobs and 50 million houses, and you know, again he was raising slogans against the protocol, and he was saying that he won't live into this lavish prime minister house and the governor house. They would be converted into universities, and the so-called protocol and the privileges to the elected people, and all of the people would be shunned, would be taken off. Unfortunately, he couldn't do so.
But Abid, when
what he has been claiming,
saying, right,
what he has been claiming, that the two people, the two political parties, the nexus of two political parties, PMLN and PPP, they have been looting the amount of the public exchequers, from the public exchequers, and about $10 billion money laundering is taking place every year. He was raising these slogans in the public jalsas, public gatherings. But unfortunately, while being in power for 4 years, he has not done a bit in this regard. He couldn't succeed. There were so many cases they were thrown, despite the fact that the you know, objective people of Pakistan, the neutral analysts, they're saying that the judiciary has, unfortunately, I have to use this word, some sort of, you know, leverage to Imran Khan, some sort of favors to, some sort of, you know, lenient against Imran Khan, what they did not against other political parties. Despite all these things, Imran Khan failed drastically while being in power 4 years, when he was unable to sustain in the power, because the support from Kaf League, from MQM, from other members, he could not sustain that, and due to various reasons, because his temperament, he is so arrogant towards their own. But when he failed, he raised the slogan of that American cipher, which proved today that was fabricated. that was maneuvered, and he used to say that nobody should take the name of Americans. On one side, in the inner meeting, he is so scared that Americans have such powers, and then when he couldn't do anything else out of that cipher, then he raised the slogans that Hakiki Azadi, and the people were diverted their attention towards that cipher from the real issue of the people of Pakistan.
Right, I want to come back to you, and then first, Yasir, I will come back to you and talk about the legality of this and what ramifications it bears in the legal sense. But I want to go to Mazhar Abbas, who's a senior journalist. Mazhar Saab, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Mazhar, we've been talking about the fact that rather than debating Imran Khan Saab's, the fact that his manifesto before he came into power and his performance pursuant to his being in power, we have been debating a cipher. And now that these audios have come out, how do you think it's going to look? What is going to happen as far as that narrative that Imran Khan Saab has been selling to the people of Pakistan? Or playing, what should we call it?
I mean, basically, what the government should do now is to constitute a committee or order an inquiry, full-fledged inquiry. I mean, they have, but they have not named the people. I mean, the inquiry headed by an interior minister would not be acceptable to one section of the society. So the inquiry has to be acceptable to all, particularly the persons whom you are accusing of. So it's better if they constitute a judicial commission. Debating one audio leak or the other audio leak, because this is the audio leak season, and we may neither of us knows what will happen tomorrow. Maybe we may get another audio leak, and day after tomorrow it could be a video leak.
Okay.
So if government is convinced that these two parts, these two audios, they are convinced that Imran Khan has committed some kind of offense, then they should, on the basis of that commission's report or a finding, of GIT or a judicial commission, I don't know, that's up to them, but it has to be acceptable to all. And that will give a transparent, because if the government on its own is convinced that Imran Khan has committed some kind of an offense, then on the basis of the findings of the Judicial Commission or a GIT, whatever it is, then they can proceed. Without it, we can debate one aspect of the audio leak and the other aspect of the audio leak. As far as the people concerned, Imran Khan's narrative would not die down until unless something concrete happens, until unless government, some kind of findings come out. Because so far, at least 3 to 4 National Security Committees meetings had been held, and during Imran Khan's tenure, I think 1 or 2 NSC were held, and during the present government, 2 more NSCs on this very issue of cipher. So as far as the government,
let me interject here. Let me ask you a question. This is just basically your opinion. I want your opinion on this. Okay, we can have the government formulate a committee. You're saying it should be a committee that is, a judicial committee. Whether the legality of that and whether they should do so or not, let's put that aside for 1 second. But in your opinion, how does this look politically? A former prime minister of a country of, many millions of people comes out after he's been voted out by a legal vote of no confidence with a theory, which he then sells to the people of this country again and again. And then these leaks come out. How do you look at our politics? How do you look at our politicians? How do you look at the integrity of the office of the former prime minister? Let's take a moment to talk about that.
You see, there's nothing new in it, because in Pakistan's political history, I mean, starting even if we go back to the 70s, if you remember, I don't think you must have read, but I'm the witness of it. During 1977 movement of against Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, in a similar fashion, Bhutto came out with a letter during his corner meetings, or I come out at Raja Bazar, Rawalpindi, and showed a letter to the people that the Americans wanted to overthrow his government. And that telegram, which was sent to the Americans in Washington, it simply says the party is over during the movement against Bhutto. And the Bhutto, after this letter or before this letter, addressed the parliament and said the party is not over. And he used the words for the Americans as white elephant. So there's nothing new in it, Even today, Imran Khan, definitely he exploited this situation. Whether I have not seen, none of us have seen that cipher, the content of that cipher.
No, the original cipher is now nowhere to be found.
No, there was something. It's not that there was nothing.
Okay.
There was something.
Mazhar
I mean, what kind of a language had been used in that we don't know. But the letter itself or a cipher itself exists. No one can deny that. It's the question whether it was.
But we don't know, because according to the cabinet meeting that was held today, there is no cipher. We don't know what language was used. What was actually said in that document.
You see, if you go through the National Security Committee's meeting, they have at least accepted that cipher. The only difference between Imran Khan's narrative and the other's narrative is that it was not
but
a
those
conspiracy.
Minutes themselves also are pursuant to the other audio, Mazhar Saab. Those minutes themselves, it seems, from the audio, if we just look at the audio, have at least been manipulated. Don't you agree?
How can, if I have not seen that very letter or whatever you called it, how can I comment on it? If I have not seen that, if none of us have seen that, we have to go on two basic points. One is the National Security Committee, not once, not twice, but thrice or 4 times, have discussed this issue, and they have come out with a statement that it was not a conspiracy. It was certainly an
Mazhar Saab, let me come back to you. Please stay with us. Please stay with us. I have to move. Please stay with us. I will come back to you. Yasir, I want to talk about the legality of this. One thing, like Mazhar Saab was saying, we can either, in your opinion, as a lawyer, what is the legal way forward? What is your opinion? Do we go for a judicial inquiry, judicial commission, all of those things? Why does, in my, as a layperson, not even, as a journalist, my question would be, any thinking person, I think, should be asking this. Why should this country, which is 1/3 of which is steeped in floods, this country, the Prime Minister of this country is dealing with challenges on a multifarious level, there's no denying that. We are looking at challenges on an economic front. Should we just should this be investigated? Should we have a judicial commission on it? The other side, of course, that if this is inaccurate, if this is wrong, if this was cooked up, so to speak, then there should be ramifications. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, first of all, the legal position is that any audio leak for that matter, given its dubious origin, would be inadmissible in court. So that's something that I'm at least pretty much clear about.
Would be inadmissible.
It's inadmissible. However,
because of the source?
Because of the source, because we don't know the custody of it. We don't know but there are ways around it, but it's still inadmissible.
And would the clean hands also apply, that where was this obtained and all of that?
Absolutely, and fruit of the poisonous tree.
Right.
That's the doctrine that applies here. So I don't think that there is a way forward in terms of punishing the culprits, as it were. Now, what Mr. Imran Khan has said disproves something and discredits, obviously, his narrative of the grand American conspiracy. He's taken that directly out of Mr. Bhutto's playbook with the letter and the cipher. The fact is that the letter and the cipher that Mr. Imran Khan cooked up turned out to be a complete, the air went out of that balloon really quickly. So I don't see after this how, well, strangely enough, Imran Khan can still maintain his credibility amongst his followers. But amongst reasonable, rational people, I don't think he has any credibility left.
If we're arguing about the if and buts right now, if we are still going to be debating about which commission and how commission and what commission, then again, we are sort of giving it that, it has to be owned up that this wasn't what it looked like, right?
Well, it can be a committee, and I think the government's done the right thing. Yes, it could be made more representative, perhaps get some sort of, perhaps the interior minister is not the right person to head it.
Okay. You think it should be somebody from a judicial background?
Yes, someone who's considered unbiased, apolitical, yes.
Let me come back to you. Ji, Rana Saab, can you hear me? Ji, Rana Saab,
yes,
a lot of, of course there has been a cabinet committee formed on this, but overall, as far as these audio leaks are concerned, again, we've been talking legally about whether they would be admissible in court, and it doesn't look like it would be. But overall, what does it say as far as the narrative is concerned, and what implications does this have, if any? Because, I have to say this, because if we are still going to be talking about hows and ifs and buts, when this is stark and obvious that there isn't, this isn't what it looked like, and it wasn't presented as such, then are we going to be setting a precedent that this can happen again? What are we looking at?
I personally think, with all respect and regard to the legal expert, as he's saying, number one, we have to reach the profundity of truth into this issue, because this has become a great scandal in the country, and it's jeopardizing the position of the country abroad as well. So we must clinch this situation with the legal action, and I personally think a committee, as being mentioned, is to be constituted. I'm talking about the joint investigation team, comprising the experts on sonography, expert on other issues, for example, forensic expert. So they'll have to examine the sonographic aspect and other aspect to reach some conclusion, because one thing is there, they have admitted their discussion. They are not saying that discussion did not take place. They did not negate anything about the truth into this discussion. So we must ascertain the final fact through our legal instruments and legal tools, and finally reach a conclusion to be submitted to the court. One thing which is left, who should head the committee? I personally think Interior Minister, the spirit of that constitution of the committee was not to probe the matter like this. It was the coordinating phenomena as far as the Interior Ministry is concerned. I fully agree. It's to be headed by a judicial officer who does have the background of trial of such cases. So it should not go unnoticed. It will not be in the interest of the country. Every time we start playing with facts and playing with the fate of the nation, that's not on. That is to be stopped firmly as far as the force of law is concerned. That is there. If somebody commits such a blunder consistently, then he should not go scot-free, because it's not in the interest of the nation.
It's not somebody we're talking about. We're talking about the former Prime Minister of this country, who was privy to all this information as the Prime Minister. So it's not somebody. I mean, we can't just say that, somebody came up with this theory or somebody is selling this to the people. It is, his office of the Prime Minister, which holds its own sanctity, which has its own, it has its own importance, it has its own gravity. So to dismiss it and say that, these allegations, these assertions that are now being talked about, that were told, whether they were accurate, whether they were inaccurate, should be investigated. That's what you're saying, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. You have rather reinforced my arguments and my submissions. You are absolutely correct, because we can't afford this luxury of playing with the facts like this by an important and responsible person. who had been a prime minister of this country. The senior the man is, the more cautious he has to be in his conduct. But unfortunately, what I understand, there are three aspects of a conduct: the previous, present, and the subsequent. Subsequent conduct you are seeing. The previous one, for example, there is a consistency. In fact,
Based on the previous conduct while he was in office.
yes, yes. Kindly. For example, his very senior minister, who is senior in age as well, like like who was the former finance minister. What was he telling the finance minister of KPK and finance minister of Punjab? That write a letter to IMF so that the whole issue is quashed and spoiled. He was trying to throw spanner into the wheels of this issue when our country was on a brink of default. Does it behove of Prime Minister? Does it behove of a senior financial expert like Treen? And look at the fact the finance minister of Punjab objected. Sir, wouldn't it go against the interest of the country? He said, no matter, because they are taking action against us, we'll do that. So what is this? Is it according to the ethics of politics? It's according to the ethics of handling the
I
statecraft.
think it goes to a larger question. Rana Saab, I'll come back to you. I want to go to Mazhar Saab. Mazhar Saab, I think it goes to a larger question. Does it not that are there any ethics at all at this time? You know, when we look at these, as far as Tareen audio is concerned, as far as these two audios that have come on the cipher overall, you know, isn't it true that it seems to be that the goal of you know being back in office, or that seems to be the goal rather than any other you know any other lofty principle at stake? It doesn't look like there's anything else that is being you know that is of value here, when all of these at least that's what the audios show. Isn't that true?
You see, what is the larger question? The larger question is who has recorded those conversations, who has leaked those conversations, and what was the motive behind it? You see, because it's raised a serious question of Prime Minister's house secrecy. It has seriously questioned how can someone, whether some intelligence agencies or XYZ, whoever has you know recorded. It raised a larger question that our Prime Minister,
but as
who's
far
the
as,
Chief
as
Executive,
far as you know, as far as that breach is concerned, of course, that is something that the cabinet is looking at, the Prime Minister is looking at.
That is a very serious question.
But do you think it will have?
Because it's nothing new.
Mazhar Saab, do you think it will have an impact on Imran Khan's politics?
It will have an impact on Pakistan's politics. It will have an impact on Pakistan's security questions.
Okay, let me come back to you on that.
That is very, to me, and as far as my friend Barrister Yasser was saying, you see, his point to some extent is valid, but in such cases, you can even have in-camera sessions. You can even have, you know, I'm sure that it's not possible to show cipher to everyone. I mean, it's a question of a national security because of a particular code that often being used in such ciphers, and it can't be leaked because it raises serious questions. But other than that, how will you reach in some kind of a conclusion? You know, before proceeding against someone, XYZ, whether it's former Prime Minister or former Principal Secretary, you have to establish your case before proceeding against someone. So have the government can't base their cases on such.
Yeah,
okay,
sir, how do you establish a case? You know, one thing, of course, as far as admissibility, inadmissibility of the audio leaks are concerned, as far as establishing a case is concerned, isn't it right there? I mean, whether we can take it to court or not, the point is that, you know, the leaks are right there, and for it to have ramifications of Pakistan politics, more for the PTI as far as the narrative is concerned. How does it, you know, it's definitely a blow to that narrative, is it not?
It is, and I think the narrative has blown apart, especially the cipher narrative, the anti-Americanism that was being offered now has gone, and let's hope that the better sense actually prevails on voters, because what we've seen is just complete deceit and dishonesty.
We talk about, like Abid Sahab was saying, when we say that, when we talk about the performance, see what happened with this cipher, with this narrative that was given forward, that effectively critique on the performance of the last government, on their policies, whether we talk about their, economic policy, their policies overall, as far as, their performance is concerned, as far as their governance is concerned, as far as their management, mismanagement, all of those things are concerned, that effectively went out of the window. There was no discussion on this. Does it, Abid Sahab, bring all of that back into perspective? Will it bring it back for the voter?
I think, with due regards to Your Honor, that has not gone into backdrop. That is still there. The serious people, as Yasser said earlier, because the sensible people, the objective thinking people, they have all these things in their mind. What actually Imran Khan is doing, such kind of, playing, as he used the word, because he failed. And this was the last resort he is playing, and fortunately that has also been exposed so widely among those particular people we are talking about, the critics. On the other hand, this is what Mother Sahib has said. I'm fully agree with him that this is actually having this sort of all sagas, all drama is having implications for Pakistan, for the state of Pakistan, because it is not a joke when a former prime minister comes out with a letter who nobody knows what is actually in that paper. Do you know how many ciphers are being written every day from one embassy to their country? There are dozens of ciphers, and so many kind of harsh languages are being used in those ciphers, because every ambassador in a country is actually custodian of the interest of his country. And there are so many ciphers coming from America every day to the Foreign Office of Pakistan. Similarly, there are so many letters are being sent, cables are being sent to the respective countries from the embassies in Islamabad. But they have picked and chosen a letter and maneuvered that letter, as the audio leaks, the alleged audio leaks is saying so, that we will make a photocopy of that, we will make some sort of minutes out of that, and we will sell it to the people of Pakistan. We will play, and I don't want to, this is allegedly the voice of former Prime Minister Imran Khan, that I do not expect from anybody to take the name of Americans. What is that? Okay, at that time, he is very much concerned that he should play safely, not get sort of any wrath from anywhere, and to maneuver that letter to attract the support of those particular people who are actually his followers, because he wanted to get them out of that whole scenario of failure of his performance.
Is it a particular low for politics in this country? Because we are not debating performances, we are not debating, like I said, we are not debating management styles, we are not debating, deliverables.
Failures and successes, yes.
We are not doing that. We are debating audios, we are debating, theories that have been taken.
Unfortunately, this is being happen in this country, and this has been happening in the country right from its inceptions. We have hundreds and hundreds of examples of such kind of things, but unfortunately Imran Khan has done this thing. He has taken this thing to the mighty level. He has not talking, even today Imran Khan has not delivered a single sentence about his performance while being in 4 years in power. He is not talking about his successes. He has not said that this I have promised with the people of Pakistan, I failed to deliver that. I apologize to the people of Pakistan due to such and such reason, whatever the reasons were. But he is not talking about his performance. He is talking about such kind of conspiracy theories. He is talking about that cipher, maneuvering that cipher, and attracting the people again, that the neutrals and the Janwars and the Fly and the Mir Jafars and Mir Sadaqs. The simple thing is he was ousted from power due to the failure of his performance, because his allied were not able to be with him. He was ousted in a legal constitutional manner from the power, but he did not accept that, and he has chosen another sort of way to get that letter and to again befool the people of Pakistan that this is a conspiracy. Why should Americans do a conspiracy against him? What he has brought, what kind of harm to the Americans' interest in the region? What he has done actually? He has not done anything to anybody in the world. He has done harm to the people of Pakistan, who he promised to bring a new Pakistan, Riyasat-e-Madina, and everybody there should be no two Pakistan, there should be one Pakistan. Imran Khan was saying that the Prime Minister of such country and such country was traveling on bicycle. And he was traveling from Banigala to Prime Minister House just 2-3 kilometers on an, the helicopter, costing millions of rupees to the people of Pakistan, to the poor people. On one side, he was selling buffaloes and cows from the Prime Minister House. On the other hand, he was purchasing the cars of millions of rupees.
And that is not being debated because of
that
this
is not being
training
debated,
that he's been doing.
unfortunately. And he is the very well considered policy that use the social media. He has made so many bots, and those bots are operating by sending. On one hand, he is talking about American conspiracy. On the other hand, he is hiring a firm in America to boost his sort of charisma and his sort of fitness and his sort of these sort of things. These are very much dilemmas in his
typical
politics.
populist.
Right.
He's a typical, yes, very good.
Let me go to Abid
News is a
Saab.
populist.
As far as this investigation is concerned, Rana Saab, as far as this investigation is concerned, he said, Imran Khan Saab said earlier on that he was willing to come back to Parliament, his party was willing to come back to Parliament if there was investigation into this cipher. If that investigation now, whether pursuant to the leaks, is headed by, like you said, by someone judicial, and that happens, do you think that it will likely have him return to the Parliament? Do you think it will have his party return to the Parliament and perhaps, opt for a style of politics where opposition, there can be credible opposition instead of these theories that are then being told to people of Pakistan?
He doesn't have any choice except for returning back to the Parliament.
Okay.
His gimmicks are not going to work now, and his total style of this demagoguery and gimmicks is unproductive and rather counterproductive. But I firmly believe, as my friend has said, that we have to investigate it properly, and we have to collect all the pieces of evidence, like sonographic, like forensic, like ocular evidence, like documentary evidence, and all these pieces put together by interpreting and by examining, by investigating, and the conclusion we have to put before a court of law. So that if he is found guilty or his friends are found guilty, they should be properly prosecuted. Because we can't put this issue under the carpet forever. It can happen time and again. So therefore, these are moral and ethical and duty to the nation to be firm on this issue. If he doesn't return to the Parliament, he will be further harming himself. I tell you, his style of politics is totally contrary to the constitutional tenets, to the parliamentary ethics. So therefore, he is faltering, and I personally think if he doesn't correct himself and reform himself, finally he'll tumble out of politics, because he thinks that crowds he can gather, he can sweep everything, he can trample the important installations that he will not be able to do. So I personally think the solution to the problem is, if some wisdom prevails, he should get back to the Parliament, try to put forward his viewpoint in the Parliament. Maybe it's accepted, maybe it's not accepted. Therefore, my view is, and most of my friend has mentioned, he has pressed a raw nerve about Riyasat-e-Madina. There is a lot of contradiction you might have observed. You might have observed there's a lot of contradiction. Iqbal said once, "Kise khabar ke leke chirag Mustafi jahan mein aag lagati firegi burahabi." The people will talk about Islam, about truth, but they'll act like Abu Lahab. So this is a syndrome of hypocrisy. This hypocrisy is not going to work. He has been totally exposed, and people, responsible people, you have already seen yourself and observed yourself, things are changing, and the level of victimization he resorted to, and the level
do you
of
agree? You think that he will, after this, pursuant to an investigation headed by, perhaps someone apolitical, agree to now come back to the assemblies? Because there seems to be, like Rana Saab is saying, little option left for the PTI at this time, the way things look.
This case, in any case, will go to the court for the simple reason that if you prosecute a former prime minister in this case, you have to show the cipher, because that cipher basically revolve around this whole conspiracy. So whatever it is, you have to come out, and that is a security issue that I don't think that either the National Security Committee or even the government will go to that extent. Now, what the government, one is the popular sentiment, whether how the voters or the supporters or the people of Pakistan will take these audio leaks. Until and unless we don't know how many more audio leaks or video leaks will come out. I mean, the local bodies elections will be held in Karachi on 23rd October. By-election will be held. We can simply judge whether its vote bank will reduce or will increase. That is, and how much impact this audio leak will ultimately have on his politics. Because remember, I know Imran Khan. I have been following Imran Khan as a journalist in 1989. When he was not even in politics. He became so popular for the simple reason because of the bad governance of the two previous governments. There could be one reason or the other reason why Imran Khan all of a sudden became so popular in 2011. How come such a person?
But he doesn't. But you're saying that his own misgovernance, his own lack of governance, his own lack of performance during his own.
Yes, exactly. Maruf, that is why I always firmly believe that vote of no confidence was a bad political move, because Imran Khan was getting unpopular.
But Mazhar Sahib, whether that was a bad political move or not, the point is that can it cloak? The point is, are we going to allow it to cloak the performance of the last government or not? That is my simple question, and I will come back to you on this.
Yeah. Who will judge? Who will judge that?
Is it going to be?
Please give me just one sentence. To apologize. We are talking much about the cipher and this conspiracy and everything. This is a political move, political play of Imran Khan. Why the sitting government of Pakistan and the institutions are not launching sort of a case against Imran Khan for breaching the constitution of the land, because the supreme judiciary of this country has on record said that ostensibly it seems a breach of constitution. When the Qasim Suri was playing in the parliament, the way the Asad Kaisar, the former speaker, was playing, and the way the Imran Khan broke the assemblies in hasty manner. Similarly, the president of the country took the initiatives. These sort of things were there. Why not cases were launched against the alleged massive corruption? The Gogi saga, the Alima Baji saga, and there are so many other cases. Why the media is not focusing on those kind of things? When the Shahid Khan Nawaz was put behind the bar for 9 months, and nothing proved against him. Rana Sanaullah was taken. I do not say that these examples should be followed. These are very unfortunate. What Imran Khan has been political victimization. The way she was evicted by the same very court, which is unfortunately because that is considered a bit lenient for Imran Khan. But we are focusing on a useless, baseless cipher which is being played by Imran Khan to muster the support of the innocent people of his own political party. That does not have any substance for me, at least, because that type of ciphers comes every day from every country, as I earlier said. But there are so many. Tosha Khana case that is being put behind the scene while raising such kind of things like the cipher. Similarly, the breach of constitution. Similarly, the case against Imran Khan. There were so many cases against him. So the court of the law, the law of the land should take its course, and there should be no political victimization.
Go down that route, and the government wants there to be. Yasir, let me ask you this question. If the government wants there to be politics on issues, if the government wants there to be, you have a prime minister this time who's again talking about performance, who's again talking about the fact that Pakistan has 1/3 of Pakistan is in water at this time, who's talking about taking up these issues on an international forum. He's talking about climate diplomacy. He's talking about, as far as debt swap is concerned, all of those things which can potentially change things for the common man, you know, because it means a huge
That is the
change
only way to get out of these
then why can't
resistance.
we as a whole move towards that kind of politics? Instead of politics like, you know, of course, there may be issues as far as, like Abid Sahib is saying, about Imran Khan, about his party, about his, you know, narrative and all of those. But if we can move towards that style of politics, it will change things significantly, no?
I believe so. I think we need to at some point become a mature democracy and stop doing what we've been doing for a very long time. This is why the democratic experience has been brought to halt every few years, 11 years or so. Thankfully this one has been longer, but if you go earlier, it's been 11 years. Every 11 years we've had a military coup before that. I think that's the reason. I think the politicians have to now concentrate on looking at performances, and the fact is that, and this is where I agree with Madhur Saab, the vote of confidence, no confidence, which was constitutional and legal, ended up becoming sort of it was a blessing in disguise for Imran Khan.
For a government that was miserably failing.
Exactly, and I think at that time, looking back, perhaps the idea that they should have gone into elections at that very moment was not a bad idea. But now that's all in the past. We can't second guess history, as it were. However, I think that Pakistan needs to, at some point, we have to come to a position where we have an all-party consensus that it's not going to be politics of revenge, like the Maryam Nawaz case. Now that is, and what's been going on in this country for the last 5 odd years, 4 odd
For
years.
last 70 years.
Well, especially the 4 odd years we've
Bhutto
seen.
was hanged.
Yeah, Bhutto was hanged, and what happened to Nawaz Sharif, and then Benazir, of course. But if we look at what's been happening over the last 4 years, the absolute sort of it's a travesty.
There's no question of reparation in this country. There's no question. I mean, I mean, she would be able to, of course, herself say how many times she's been dragged to courts during this time. You know, she's had to come, she's had to face the media, she's had to talk about it, she's had to, you know, vindicate herself, whereas she shouldn't have had to. In
This all took place
It's a
during
travesty of
Imran Khan's
justice.
tenure.
we've seen.
It's a travesty of justice. That is
Exactly.
what. It's been terrible, and I feel for Miss Nawaz in this, and it's been horrible. But not just her. I mean, look at what they did to
Asif Zardari, Khurshid Shah, Shah Khan Abbasi,
Shah Khan Abbasi,
Faryal Talpur.
Miftah,
You know, politically victimizing.
Absolutely.
And when will that change? Let me take Rana Sahib, your quick comments. Unfortunately, we're running out of time.
I'll make a submission keeping in view the popularity, as mentioned by my friend, honorable friend, of Imran Khan. All of us are focusing on the latest by-election in Punjab of 20 constituencies. We have to go for analysis in depth. There were 20 constituencies, and all were of PTI. Even then, Muslim League N won 5 constituencies out of 20. Those were not their constituencies, despite the fact that they had been involved into such a quagmire of inflation, but still they got the votes. And their increase in votes was 39%. Whereas the increase of PTI votes in these 20 constituencies was 32%. And I tell you, the Muslim League N could not manage because they were not able to strike proper combinations and permutations in 5 other constituencies. So I tell you, if he had been so popular, there should have been stampede, and the bails of all the candidates should have been confiscated. And it did happen in 1970 when Bhutto came and he ruined every politician. But here it didn't happen. And there was marginal difference. The votes and total votes cast in favor of PTI was 1 million, whereas in favor of Muslim League N was 8,50,000. That
Right.
was the difference.
Unfortunately, that's all
Therefore,
the time that we have. Thank you
we
so much
have-
for joining us. Rana Saab, thank you for being with us. Mazhar Abbas Saab, thank you for your time. Dr. Abid Abbasi, thank you for joining us. Barrister Yasir Lateef Hamdani, thank you for being with us. We've seen the audios. We've seen what they say. We've seen clearly what they allude to. Of course, as far as political ramifications for PTI is concerned, those we'll be able to see over time. We'll be able to see how this will impact their politics, their narrative, the way that it now clearly seems to have fallen open. We've also another thought we all need to think about the fact, when will we move toward a style of politics where we can talk about performances, we can talk about governance, we can talk about issues rather than victimizing, which we've recently seen also with the Avonfield judgment that's come out vindicating Maryam Nawaz, other cases that we've seen, other as far as Shahid Khaqan Abbasi is concerned, like various main political leaders we've seen who've been, so to speak, vindicated through the courts after having been dragged for years under this system. All of those things perhaps need to be thought about when we reflect on the politics of this country. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.